Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Nanny Joanne. On today's video, I'm going to be doing a part 1 review of the 5 love languages of children by Gary Chapman. And this is what the book looks like. It's a phenomenal book. I read his book titled The 5 Love Languages of Adults, and I learned so much about myself, my partner, and how to basically fill our love tanks so that we both feel loved, valued, and respected. So there's 5 different love languages as the title mentions. So I'm going to break this up into 5 videos. That way we can get a deeper understanding and I'm not just bombarding you with all 5 love languages. So the first love language that I'm going to start with is physical touch. So love should always be unconditional, no matter whether we're giving it to our spouse, our children, an animal, anybody. Love knows no boundaries, no limitations. It's unconditional. So I'm going to first start this video with, of course, a definition of what unconditional love is right from the book. It says, we can best define unconditional love by showing what it does. Unconditional love shows love to a child no matter what. We love regardless of what the child looks like, regardless of her assets, liabilities, or handicaps, regardless of what we expect her to be, and most difficult of all, regardless of how she acts. Now, of course, just because we love unconditionally doesn't mean that we're always going to love every little thing our child does. But what it does mean is that we give love and support to our child no matter what, even if their behavior or attitude isn't the best or isn't what we want it to be. Now, just because you give a child unconditional love does not mean that you're going to spoil the child and that it's going to become bratty. You can't give too much love to anything or to anyone. Love does not spoil children. Our behaviors and what we do to children spoils children. If you raise a child giving it conditional love, or only if you do good will I give you some love, that's how they're going to learn how to give love themselves. It's going to be limited amounts of love, and they'll only feel like, okay, well, only if I do this will I get love. So I'm not going to do all these other things that might benefit me because that's going to go unaccounted for. If that's how a child learns how to love, when they grow up, odds are that they're going to be able to manipulate their environment to get things that they want. So if they're with a spouse or a child of their own, they're going to be like, well, you didn't do this and that's really terrible. So no hugs from mommy, no gifts from mommy, no positive affirmations. And that's going to start a very vicious cycle, and it's not going to be conducive for them into a maturing adolescent or adult. With limited or conditional love, children will only please their parents if they're pleased, and vice versa. If they're frustrated, the parents are going to be frustrated. With this kind of love, a lot of times you'll see children or teenagers have anger issues, resentment, and they can even act out as teenagers, as I'm sure we have all seen. Emotions are very powerful. There was even a study done that shows that babies in the womb can feel when their mother are happy or angry. So as adults, if we're having a really tough day at work, we need to be conscious of our emotions and what we're emitting, because children are super empathetic and they will definitely feel those vibes resonating off of us. So parents and caregivers, be careful of your moods. If you're stressful, wait in the car, take a couple of breaths before you come into the house, because we don't want our children to see us all riled up and upset, because they're going to be like, oh, mommy's not happy. Maybe I did something wrong. And they're going to start questioning themselves, which is not what we want. Now, another very important sentence that I liked in this book is that it says, nearly all parents deeply love their children, yet not all children feel that unconditional love and care. You know that really popular saying that says actions speak louder than words? Well, in this case and in many cases, that statement is so true. We as caregivers, as parents, we're going to love our children, but They don't know that. Just because we tell them I love you 20,000 times a day doesn't mean that they're going to feel the love. If we're not giving them hugs, if we're not giving them positive affirmations and good vibes and good energy, and we're not treating them with respect, they're not going to feel loved. Just because you're telling them I love you, or you're providing them with a roof over their head, food, shelter, clothes, doesn't mean that they feel loved. There's a difference between you telling somebody I love you and you showing them. Now, here are 2 disclaimers that I must tell you in regards to physical love. If your child is under the age of 5, don't really expect them to really reveal what kind of love language they have. You might have a little inkling of what it is, but usually you just give them all types of love. They don't really develop their primary love language until they're a little bit older than 5. Now, secondly, just because you are aware of your child's love language doesn't mean that everything is going to be smooth sailing from there on out. I'm sure you're still going to run into some rough patches. So don't think that because you've discovered their love language, everything is great, easy, and you'll never have a hitch. False. Kids are full of surprises, and just because you know their primary love language doesn't mean it's over. Out of the 5 love languages, physical love is the easiest way of love that you can get. As parents, caregivers, nannies, you don't need a special occasion to give physical touch. You don't need to clean out your calendar and make time to give physical touch. There is no excuse whatsoever as to why you can't give physical touch. Just a simple tap on the shoulder, a rub on the back, a high five. Those are all super easy forms of physical touch that you can do at any point in time when you're in contact or around your child. Both boys and girls benefit tremendously from physical touch. So don't think for a second that just because they're a boy, you shouldn't hug them, kiss them, or anything like that. Don't worry about giving your son too much love. It's not going to feminize them. On the contrary, it'll make them stronger individuals, and they will have a strong self of identity and sexuality. There's a big misconception between the boys and the girls, and because of this, unfortunately, boys grow up receiving significantly less physical touch than girls. Because they didn't get this kind of love when they were little, a lot of boys from age 7 to 9 go through a resistance stage where they don't want to be touched, they don't want hugs from mommy and daddy, they don't want kisses, and so they become resilient to physical touch. However, you know how they make up for this? They'll want to wrestle, to tackle, to play football, physical sports. Those are all ways of getting physical touch, which is appropriate for boys. Girls also like to wrestle and to be a little bit, aggressive, but they're not as opposed to physical touch during this stage. Contact sports are a great way to get that physical touch with children, especially boys, if they're a little bit resilient to, ooh, come here, let me give you a hug. So contact sports are a great way to give physical touch for both boys and for girls. And remember, physical touch is just that. You don't have to be giving them a bear hug or suffocating them with hugs and kisses. As long as you're touching them, it'll be enough, trust me. Now, when they become teenagers, it gets a little bit iffy depending on their upbringing. The book says that when your child reaches the teen years, it's important that you show your love in positive ways and also at the right times and places. We don't want to be that mother or father that says, bye, honey, I love you, come give mommy a smooch or a hug, and they're in front of their friends. Like, how many movies have we seen? How many experiences have we had that shows, Mom, why are you doing that? Don't be that parent. Don't be that nanny. Don't be that friend. Don't be that aunt. Don't be that person that embarrasses your kid. You can always save that for a right time and place, which would be in the home where it's unconditional. In the book, Dave Chapman mentions a woman by the name of Michelle that said that she didn't realize her child's love language of physical touch until he was 12 years old. Can you imagine? She mentions that for years, she was so annoyed by her child because every time she would walk by him, he would pinch her hand. Or whenever she was at the couch reading, he would rub his hands through her hair. Or that when she was in his room putting away some laundry, as she was walking out, he'd grab her foot and be yanking her, or would pull her arm and try to, put it behind her back. He was just trying to touch her. And that whole time, she didn't make the connection that that was his love language, physical touch. She was just being super aggravated and super annoyed. And one time, she even told him, keep your hands to yourself, and I don't want you playing with mommy's hair. Poor kid. 12 years, you imagine? It wasn't until she went to one of the love languages seminars that she realized, oh my God, that's his love language. And this whole time, I have been depriving him of it. Now, mind you, she herself is not a very touchy physical person. So she was also depriving her husband of that, which he later confessed, yeah, that's my love language too. It then goes to say that after she realized this, she made small changes. And when her son would come up and cover her eyes while she was watching TV, she would turn around and give him a bear hug. And she said that the first time she did that, he was like, and he just starts giggling, and it was great. And she realized the same for her husband. After he would give her a hug, she would return and reciprocate that same touch to him. And he said, wow, this is great. I need to attend some more seminars more often. So it actually ended up working out for her. Now, I thought that this was a really cute way to end the chapter. So it gives us some quotes that children said when they asked them, so how do you know if you're loved? So here's Sophia, age 7, and she says, I know mommy loves me because she hugs me. An 11-year-old said, on a 0 to 10 scale, I know mommy and daddy love me 10. And when they asked him why he felt so strongly, he said it was because, well, for one thing, they tell me, but even more from the way that they treat me. Dad is always bumping me when he walks by, and we wrestle on the floor. He's a lot of fun, and mom always hugs me, although she stopped doing it in front of my friends. Now, it also gives you a little chart, and it tells you if your child's love language is physical touch, what can you do? So just a couple examples here. Here's a very, traditional one. Hug and kiss your child every day when they leave and return from school. Stroke your child's hair or rub their back when they tell you about a difficult day or if they're upset. Snuggle closely on the couch when watching television together. Play games or sports that require physical touch. Have tickle fights. When you're with younger children reading to them, have them sit on your lap. And, hold hand during family prayers. So those are just a couple of examples of what you can do if you have a child that is a part of the physical touch category. All right, guys, so that was physical touch, my little review on it, and basically it condensed. I gave you guys a lot of information. I am an adult, obviously, and I respond to physical touch and a little bit of quality time. Everything else goes out the window for me. So when I read this one, it really, really resonated with me. And it makes a lot of sense because when I'm around children, family, friends, I'm super touchy with them because that's how I got love as a little girl. And that's how I give love to others. And that's how I want to get love too. All right, guys, so stay tuned for next week where I will be doing part 2, which is going to be words of affirmation. All right, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys all next time with part 2 of the 5 love languages of children.